Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's weekly RV report for Friday, September 26, 2025. Can you believe it? We are through the end of the month, and next week begins October, the first quarter of the new fiscal year for the Western world. It is going quick and even faster, as you well know. Thanks for tuning in and joining us. We appreciate your time and energy. If you're new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share. Helps the channel grow and others to gain in the knowledge you're currently being afforded. As you know, I'm not a financial advisor or guru, nor does this report constitute any financial advice whatsoever. It's just merely quality information for you to use for your own personal discernmental authority. Okay, moving forward, let's go to the nation of Iraq as we customarily do. And I've got some articles I want to show you accordingly. Now, we have this post here, which is interesting. You can see it here on Zoom News, breaking news. This is of yesterday. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says U.S. welcomes the tripartite agreement between the Iraqi government, Kurdistan region, KRG, the largest bloc, as well as international companies to resume Kurdistan region oil exports. Excuse me, as well as reopening the Iraq-Turkey pipeline, noting that the U.S. facilitated deal will bring tangible benefits for both Americans and Iraqis while reaffirming Iraq's sovereignty. That's really key. This is critical in terms of bringing Iraq back onto the international stage. They have to disclose all of their assets and can no longer hide solely behind U.S. oil and dollar revenue. This is also part and parcel of a global decorruption process. And remember, the real rate for the dinar is contained within the private sector. Now, we don't do dates and rates. I'm just giving you the puzzle pieces, just to be clear there, AKA the Ministry of Planning. Exactly the same as we see here stateside on the private side of the ledger. Let's move to this other article with Majid, which further supports what we were discussing, breaking, I believe this is as of yesterday. As of 6 a.m. Saturday, Iraqi time, the export of the Kurdistan region's oil to international markets through Turkey's Sept pipeline is set to restart. Now, you just saw President Trump meeting yesterday with President Erdogan of Turkey. That's crucial because, again, Turkey provides a tremendous amount of water resources to the Iraq region, as well as brokering the deal with the Kurdistan region for the oil deals vis-a-vis the HCL oil gas law. So these are the kinds of, again, events that we need to be seeing as we are seeing things get at their worst. We're not there yet, but we're ginning up the climax in the proverbial movie. Okay, now let me take you to the next picture that I want to show you here. In other news, President Trump met at the UN this week, as you know, with world leaders during Rosh Hashanah and excoriated the deep state. Additionally, he dropped some major comms concerning peace and prosperity. You can see one of them right here. As you see, Trump urges UN nations to join in building a safer, more prosperous world. We talked about that on our podcast this week with the great Jim Pugh, that peace is the prize and peace is part of what is necessary along with decorruption to bring about what we're all anticipating. Let me show you some other, articles or picture excerpts to support what we were talking about. This is just another angle of things. This is Majid earlier this week on Wednesday. As you can see here, non-oil revenue worth 48 billion dinar will be deposited, as we saw as of yesterday. Again, no more Fed Reserve dollar and no more hiding behind oil. They're going to have to reveal all the assets they have in the ground: gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and the like. There's another article from Majid. Universities and colleges in Iraq have fully moved to a digital system. This is part of killing the old system and bringing the new one. They've opened offices inside the campuses for students to open an account and key card to pay the tuition, and I think they meant to say tuition in digital payment, no more cash. Again, meaning the dollar part. Let's see what else I can show you here. Now, before we move on to a couple other things, I want to bring this up. This is pretty interesting here. This came up vis-a-vis Big Joe Williams. Thanks to him for the drop on this. This is a U.S. debt clock article that was caught on the U.S. debt clock. You know how these things come out for a few moments and then they're removed. Somebody on his side caught it and he shared it with us accordingly. Federal marshals raid Federal Reserve building in New York City in search of looted USA gold. Part of the OFAC list, part of the, part of the returning of the assets back to the people globally and especially here in America. Now look at the date that's circled, October 13th. That's less than 3 weeks away. 13th, a cabal number. Look at this, Federal Reserve Private Banking, 1913. 13. See, so they have to do it in multiple comms. Again, we thought this was pretty interesting and noteworthy. Now, let's see what I can show you here. On the XRP front, we want to talk to you about a little bit. Let's go there. And this is according to Amelia, aka Crypto Barbie, breaking news. CFTC, which stands for Commodities Future Trading Commission. Acting Chairman Caroline D. Pham, which you know is part of the XRP leadership with Brad Garlinghouse and Stuart Alderati, allowing stablecoins as U.S. derivatives, aka debt markets, for the first time. Okay, so in other words, XRP and other cryptos can be used to pay off, quote, debt. That we know is artificial, but in order to do that, they have to have immense value. Now we're seeing a bit of a pullback with XRP, but again, we've seen this before. This is right before it moonshots in this super crypto bull run that we should be seeing here shortly. What a, quote, coincidence, given that we are currently going into the season, as I just mentioned. So let's go to a couple of other things that will support this. And let's see, here we go. This is an interesting article. Fellow friend Nick Benyamin sent this to me earlier in the week, so I want to share it with you accordingly. Decentralized cryptocurrency will dominate specifically XRP, XLM, and XDC. We've talked about that: gold, silver, copper, Algorand, and many other things, asset-backed coins, gold and silver. These things are all working together congruently. So again, the bonds, cryptos, currencies, metals are not separate, but they're all conjoined through natural assets in the ground. Okay, now I want to cover this in part of the other. Regarding the Fed chair position, Treasury Chair Secretary Scott Bessent said that he would start interviewing the top 3 or 4 candidates in early October, which, by the way, technically would be next week, probably the week after, but somewhere in that range. He also mentioned he was seeking someone with an open-minded mindset or mentality. The discussion of long Treasury bonds came up on a report this week on X22, for those of you who watch that. Those refer to Treasury bonds that range from 50 to 100 years in maturity. And Judy Shelton, interestingly enough, wrote an article on this very subject and how this would be yet another proper approach to removing taxes while at the same time bringing in continuous tariff revenues. Seems pretty open-minded and unconventional, don't you think? Yet another reason why we strongly believe, in the end, she's being held back to be the one that will get the nod as Fed chair while simultaneously bringing back the gold standard. Again, 2 things can exist at the same time. Now to wrap things up on the commodities market and precious metals at the time of this broadcast, so you can see it for posterity as we typically do on morning my time on Friday. Excuse me. Silver is trading currently at $45.94, almost at the 46 mark, moving up very aggressively as you knew was going to happen. Gold is now back up over 3,800 to 3,806.60. Crude oil is trading up slightly at $66.11, and the Dixie Dollar Index is holding at 98.23. Well, that does it for this week's report. As always, if anything breaking comes up, we will be sure to bring it to you as quickly as possible, post haste. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Have a good and safe weekend. Let's enjoy the ending of where we are and going into October, the last quarter of the calendar, and the first quarter of the new fiscal year for the Western world, specifically the US and Europe. The last 3 months, I'm going to tell you folks, candidly, we really think is Mr. Toad's wild ride. It's going to be everything that we've worked on compressed into a very tight window. Not giving dates or rates, I'm just saying the sequence of events that are happening financially and geopolitically seem to vet that out. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Take care. God bless. Goodbye for now.